I live in Toronto, a city in Canada where I see way too many shades of gray for my own good health. A few years ago, however, I became friends with a splash of color in the form of a slight, fragile gentleman from Montreal named Ryan Larkin. Hello.
Chris Landreth, known for his short films such as The End, The Spine, and the Oscar-winning Ryan, finished his latest NFB film Subconscious Password last year to much acclaim. The film screens at this year's Encounters Festival in Bristol and maintains his established, uncanny style of CG psychorealism, in this instance exploring the complex world of his own mind, laid out in a game show setting.
Charles, it's you! It's Charles! My goodness, my eyeballs are gonna pop out of my head!
Oh my
What's his name?
Subconscious Password is a short film. It's 11 minutes long. It uses a variety of techniques that I like to use. A lot of CG, obviously, as you'll see, but also a lot of really cheap animation. Really enjoyed the opportunity to go really cheap and lo-fi in this film. And yeah, it came around for a couple of reasons, one of which was that I found myself constantly in situations where a fellow would walk up to me and I know his face, but I don't remember really who he is, and he's talking to me like I'm his best friend and I don't know his name. And when that happens, to me anyway, one of two things comes about after that. One is that I, for the life of me, can't remember his name, right? And eventually the jig is up and the guy realizes I don't know who he is, and he says, my name is John, and you're left in this vacuum gasping for air, and it's, you try to pick the pieces off the floor and you look at the John, and he's, his feelings are hurt. But the other thing that happens is that after maybe a couple of minutes of stalling the person for time, the name will come back. And when it does, it's like, for me, when that happens, it's like, great. I practically do a jig on the spot there. I'm like, John this, John that, just to in triumph, like showing him that I know his name. There's a mystery of, how you're able to remember things, like a person's name from 4 years ago, is an incredibly extraordinary thing that we do. We're able to do, sometimes many times a day. If you're at a festival like this, remembering people's names is a miraculous thing that some people that I know can do just like that. I certainly am not one of them. Okay, so that's one thing. But the other thing is that I grew up in the 60s when there were these great game shows on TV. And one of them was a game show called Password, which was on starting in the early 60s, hosted by Alan Ludden, with guest stars like Betty White and Sammy Davis Jr. and Bill Cosby and Jerry Lewis and Bob Denver, who played Gilligan on Gilligan's Island. These guys would be on this game show and they'd be like doing these exchanges with contestants. And it occurred to me when I was like watching reruns of Password a couple of years ago that that's what happens when, in our subconsciouses, when we are trying to remember somebody's name. There's a part of your brain called the hippocampus, which is where your brain stores long-term memories. And different parts of your brain, particularly a piece called the amygdala, is involved in trying to ping the hippocampus for these sort of like one-word memes. And when it retrieves that meme, which is the person's name, it runs it up to the frontal cortex, and then you remember it, and then you say the person's name. So it seemed to me that I could put those two things together, the game show and neurology, and Subconscious Password came from that.